John Wall traded to the New York Knicks? Who knows, man? Who knows? Evan Massey of the NBA Analysis Network cites a former NBA executive as saying that the New York Knicks could have interest in trading for Houston Rockets star John Wall. I kind of disagree with the wording there, but 6'4" John Wall averaged 20.6 points per game, 6.9 assists per game, and 3.2 steals in 32.2 minutes. That is actually an unbelievable statistic. Wow. John Wall, he's kind of the thorn in the bud for the Houston Rockets here because he just doesn't fit what the Houston Rockets are looking to do. Now, they had a very disappointing season going 17-55. That is a 23% win percentage. It wasn't their year for a whole bunch of different reasons. If you guys watch my videos, I've been covering it. If you enjoy this video, hit that like button, hit that sub button. Be sure to check that out because I do this every single day. I know you guys will like it. So the New York Knicks, on the other hand, they just made the playoffs for the first time in what feels like forever. They had a very good season, 41-31. They had a good offensive season. They had an incredible defensive season as well. So New York, all of a sudden, it's kind of like, I think they need to go after some veterans. And while the Knicks, they're probably going to be targeting, quote unquote, targeting guys like Damian Lillard and Chris Paul. I don't see either of those cats going to this team. So John Wall is literally a perfect plan B for the New York Knicks. And we all know, the New York Knicks right now, they're supposed to have like Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. They're supposed to have every star right now based off of who they think they're getting. So John Wall, it's good that the Knicks could have a backup plan, a plan B, because there's no way Damian Lillard gets traded to the Knicks. However, they do have the assets for it. So John Wall at 30 years old, previous 5-time All-Star, he's just not a long-term fit for a rebuilding Houston Rockets team. Now, due to Wall's contract, which pays him over $44 million in 2021-2022, he also has a player option, which is going to be more than $47 million for the 2022-2023 season. So, since could have 2 years left on this dude's contract, it's unclear if anybody is going to be taken. Now, here's what Massey quotes a former NBA executive as saying, with indications that a deal could be done as soon as this offseason. So here we go. The Knicks have some level of interest in John Wall. Houston would love to move him and get some value for him. He isn't a long-term fit for the Rockets, and if New York really wants him, they have the pieces to get a deal done. Wall isn't their top priority this season, but he could be an excellent fallback option, and the interest is there. It's worth noting that the New York Knicks have a bunch of cap space. We're talking probably over $50 million, which might make them a little bit more viable for John Wall being a destination in comparison to some other teams, maybe like the Los Angeles Clippers, who desperately could use a point guard of John Wall's caliber, a playmaker, a good defender, somebody who can score on his own. No disrespect to Patrick Beverley, but it's pretty clear he isn't the answer, and it's pretty clear that, Rondo's getting there in age. Rondo had a horrible Game 6, horrible Game 7 in the first round of the playoffs. So the Knicks, they have higher priorities for all that cap, 50+ mil, like I mentioned, probably Chris Paul via free agency, Kyle Lowry via free agency, but John Wall, while he is 30, just missed nearly half the season due to various injuries. A lot of that is just load management. You want him to be 100% healthy next year. So if New York strikes out on the initial plans of whoever they're going to be targeting, whether it's Lonzo or any of those veterans I just mentioned, it's possible that Wall could be as a very, very beneficial plan B. Now, after all, his contract is large in annual value. It's not long at all. You're looking at 1 year here, and you're really going to learn a lot about John Wall, man, because I think he would take that player option. I think he'll take that player option on any team, just considering he's coming off a torn Achilles. He missed an entire season. He missed half of this season. So John Wall won't make anywhere near $47 million ever for the rest of his career in one season. So I see John Wall signing that player option no matter where he's at, because 47 guaranteed $1 million is, I mean, that is just absolutely unbelievable. So it's only 2 years, and on a team like the New York Knicks, that's just much more beneficial. I mean, the Houston Rockets, I feel like they should kind of be acting as if John Wall isn't even on their roster right now, because he just doesn't fit the rebuilding plans. He doesn't fit their new culture and their new vision for the future. So there's no point in even thinking that he is on the team, in my opinion. So as for Massey and the report's validity, it's worth noting that just before the trade deadline, he mentioned that, or he reported that the Rockets and Heat were discussing a Victor Oladipo trade. And back then, even on trade deadline day, anywhere before trade deadline day, there were rumors, speculation more so, not really rumors, more speculation like, oh, the Houston Rockets should be trading Victor Oladipo. Leading up to the trade deadline on the day of, like just a couple of hours, tweets this, and it ends up coming true. So it doesn't mean it's going to be necessarily accurate, this Wall to the Knicks report, but it does offer a bunch of hope, considering, I mean, his connections have seemed very credible in the past, especially for the Houston Rockets. So taking a look at John Wall, like I said, he only played in 40 games this season. 32 minutes per game, 20.6 points per game from deep. Not a great three-point shooter. That's definitely a big issue for him. He only shot 32% from deep. But you got to look at that at steal number, 1.1 steals per game. This is a guy who averaged 2 steals a game back in 2016, 2017. You just remember only 4 years ago, this guy averaged 23 points per game, 10.7 assists per game, and that was the year he had 2 steals. So John Wall is definitely a good point guard, and while he only played in 40 games this year, that's good, man. He just had to be load managed. He actually hasn't played in more than 40 games since 2016, 2017. So while he has had some intense injuries like the torn Achilles, had an infection, left heel injury, there's still going to be some gas in the tank. He's only 30 years old. He just has barely played basketball since he was essentially 27 years old. So although he's not a great three-point shooter, I think the New York Knicks really could use a veteran at the point guard position to help lead that offense. Derrick Rose off the bench if they decide to re-sign him. But, I mean, Elfrid Payton's not the answer at point guard. I think you definitely got, and with all their cap space, I think John Wall is actually just a perfect fit, because I don't see any of these big names going to Kyle Lowry, Chris Paul, any of these big names going to the Knicks. So plan B, this should work 100%. Hit that like button, hit that sub button, and if you're still watching this video, say the name Brian. See you guys later.